All right, guys, what is up? You are back for your weekly outlook and prediction for stocks and crypto. This video is not financial advice, should not be taken as such. We're looking at AMC, GME, SPY, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, stocks and crypto, and so much more. Let's go ahead and hop into charts, facts, and data right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing I want to point out is some meme stock news. The movie F1 is out right now. Also, Megan 2.0. Megan 2.0 not doing as well as expected. It is a flop right now with only a 10 million user start. But you guys can see right now, F1 is doing absolute numbers with a 55.6 million opening and a 144 million globally. So that is some decent numbers. Let's see if it continues to track, because this could be a box office hit, which could help AMC. Now, if AMC does start to pump this week or start to go up, they would use this as a narrative. They'll be like, hey, the F1 movie did good over the weekend, blah, blah, blah. You know how that goes. We all know it's because cost to borrow or something went up, liquidity is getting dry, and the manipulation is harder to pull off, so the stock pumps. Now, speaking of cost to borrow, AMC right now, you guys can see cost to borrow sitting at 0.89%. We got this pump to the upside here on Friday. Now, remember, I told you guys cost to borrow directly relates to price here on the meme stocks. What happened on Friday? We also got a pump to the upside here in price. So if cost to borrow does remain at these prices or higher, you could see a continuation to the upside here for AMC, which is why I think we could see a green week here for AMC and potentially here GME. And I'm going to break down what we're looking at, potential price targets, and why we could see that green week. Now, again, besides cost to borrow, and we do have some positive news coming out as far as the box office, you guys can see that AMC has a very, very nice setup here. We have this falling wedge setup here. Right here is my prediction for this week and the next couple of days. You guys can see that I think we're going to be pushing to the upside out of this falling wedge. I also found a fractal during the live stream. Again, the live streams where I can really break things down and take time to break things down to you guys. So again, you want to watch the videos and the live streams. A lot of people haven't been getting my notifications on, so make sure you guys check that the notifications are on. If they're on, maybe turn them on and off, and just make sure to check if I'm live. But you guys can see this fractal is from the last falling wedge. We had this mega falling wedge here, where we got this big push to the upside. We now have this fractal here showing that we're potentially going to move to the upside as well. I don't see any reason why AMC shouldn't be able to hit at least $3.15 this week, but potentially as high as $3.50 as early as this week, as I think AMC potentially could have a 5 to 8% green week this week, in my personal opinion. So not only have I given you a weekly outlook and prediction candle print, but I'm giving you a lot of specifics here with price targets and percentages. So yes, indeed, I do think AMC is going to be seeing a green week. Based off some of the technicals here, I think it's time for us to push up out of this falling wedge. Also, the confirmation of closing well above 305 on a Friday lets me know that we're going to be pushing up, and seeing this cost to borrow move to the upside as well is good. Now, if we also look at the options chain, you guys can see that if we go ahead and look, we have a short week this week because the market's obviously going to be closed on July 4th. So keep that in mind. And we do have the potentiality for a gamma ramp here on both AMC and GME, as people are buying calls out of the money and calls are outweighing puts. Now, GME looks a little bit better as far as the gamma ramp is concerned, but if we were able to get some momentum to the upside and start moving, we could see price start to move rapidly, especially if GME and AMC start to push into their gap fills. AMC's gap fill starts at 325 and goes to 328. So if it's able to get up to those levels and then clear into those levels, you could see it start to move pretty rapidly. And then GameStop has a huge gap fill where if it gets into that, there's going to be little to no support and resistance in between there. So it could definitely start to pump. GameStop's gap fill starts at 2430 and goes all the way to 2847. So ladies and gentlemen, if GameStop starts to get in this gap fill, it's going to push up, and if GameStop starts to push up rapidly, it's going to help AMC push up, and if they both push up together, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the shorts. So this is what we want to see, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I would love to see GameStop's cost to borrow go up a little bit here. We are seeing GameStop's cost to borrow down as of right now, sitting at 0.51%, but still relatively up from the levels that it was kind of hovering at here just a few months ago. So again, we do want to see it go higher. Let us know that liquidity is drying up. But the other thing that's impressive here for GameStop is this days to cover in short interest. Both of the meme stocks are not only displaying with their short interest a desperation from the shorts, but if they were to get squeezed with these levels, it would cause a huge short squeeze. GameStop short interest sitting at 19.46% with 8.47 days to cover here on GME, which is absolutely insane. That's 8.47 days of squeezing in AMC with 14.04 days to cover. That's 14 days of squeezing if shorts were to get squeezed and be forced to cover, sitting at 14.54% short interest. So almost 15 and 20% short interest respectively here on the meme stocks AMC and GME. And if they were to get squeezed, that would be a pretty massive short squeeze. So not only is it showing desperation as they're trying to keep these stocks down, but if these stocks start to go up in price, especially with this short interest, that could create a tricky short situation for the short sellers. So this is what we're looking at for AMC. I gave you guys some price targets as far as AMC is concerned. As far as GME is concerned, I don't see why we couldn't get up to at least $24 to $25 in my personal opinion. Again, once we get into this gap fill, you're going to start to see a move up. You guys can see that GameStop starting to build momentum. You guys can see RSI is trending up. MACD here on the 4-hour time frame is green. Also, some things I want to point out here for AMC that I pointed out on the live stream. If you go ahead and go to the daily time frame, you guys can see that we use the 50 moving average as support, and we came up off of that, and we're starting to curl up. So that's a good indication that we're probably going to push up for this gap fill for AMC. That's why I said 315, 325 here for AMC, maybe even as high as 350, and then we're looking at possibly $24 to $25 here for GME. And if GME gets into this gap fill, it could ultimately end up as high as $28.47. I do think we are going to have a green week for the meme stocks, both of them, and I believe that potentially both of the meme stocks will at least have a 5 to 8% green week, if not bigger, but at least a 5 to 8% green week in my personal opinion, based off the technicals I'm seeing here. So in my personal opinion, I'm definitely going to have to go green week. So this is what we're looking at for the meme stocks. I gave you guys your short interest numbers, your cost to borrow. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow for the live stream. Put the bell notification on if it's not on, and hit that like button and subscribe. So let's go ahead and go into SPY and the overall stock market. Show you guys what's going on here with SPY. Here's the information that you need to know as far as SPY is concerned if you're investing and then trading into stocks and crypto in general. So the Trump tariffs, the 90-day pause, is coming to an end soon, okay? So, and Trump is saying he's not going to extend that. So again, this is going to create a lot of uncertainty in the markets, in my personal opinion. And this is also why I believe that this rally we're seeing is screaming exit liquidity to me. Also, another thing you need to keep on your radar if you're trading and investing is what's going on here in the Middle East. Yes, Russia and Ukraine matter, but right now this is kind of what's on the forefront of everything. The ceasefire is still holding up, but both sides are remaining suspicious of each other, and it's a very, very fragile situation. The Middle East is a literal powder keg. This thing could go up in any minute, so you want to keep that on your radar. And this is not over yet. So again, more uncertainty, more fear, more doubt. This is why I think that we are seeing this rally being used as exit liquidity. Now, that being said, I do not think we are going to pull back this week. I think we're actually going to push higher up until potentially we head into when the tariffs come into play, or as early as later this week, as we do have some major data drops coming as well. So unemployment, this is going to be the big one for this week. It's going to be on July 3rd, ladies and gentlemen. Unemployment potentially coming out higher than expected. If that is the case, then you would see bearishness for the market. We also have ISM PMI on Thursday, and non-farm payrolls as well on Thursday. And then on Tuesday, we have ISM manufacturing PMI and JOLTS job opening, which is something you want to keep your eye on as well. But the major thing is going to be July 3rd. And if unemployment comes out lower, then you could see some pumpage in the market. But it's looking like the consensus and forecast potentially saying it's either going to be the same or higher. If we do see it come out higher, that would be extremely bearish for the market, especially with the last report that we got on GDP showing that the economy is contracting. If we also get a report that says unemployment is raising, that is even more concrete evidence of a recession/depression. So I don't want to scare people or be doom and gloom. I just want to show you guys what's actually happening as far as the data sets are saying, regardless of the irrationality of the stock market. Now, I know some people think this doesn't make sense. It can't be read. But I do think SPY is going to at least 520. The technicals still can be read, and that's how I predicted this pop to the upside. You guys can see that we had a falling wedge here on SPY that I was able to point out and said we get that pop to the upside. We are actually using a previous all-time high support as support. We came down to use it as support. So I think SPY is going to be able to hit 520 this week, in my personal opinion, like 518, 520 at least this week. So I'm going to have to go for a green week here on SPY. I think we're going to see bullishness throughout most of the week, potentially at the later half of the week. It is a short week, remember. Market's going to be closed Friday. We could see some downside, but overall I think SPY is going to be pushing up. Now, if we were to get something happening in the Middle East or something like that, or some tariff developments, that could definitely change things. But it looks like we're going to be good until at least July 9th on the tariff. And then also some just updated news on the tariffs. Trump wants to keep a 25% tariff on Japanese autos. So that's just something as well to keep on the back burner. But the main thing is that the deadline is coming up to an end soon. Now, as far as what we could see in the morning, futures are green right now. So I'm thinking we're going to see some pre-market push to the upside. We'll probably come up to like 614.02. If we can use 614.02 as support, then we're going to push up to like 616.38. But do not get it twisted. I do think SPY is going to move higher before pulling back, in my personal opinion. Yes, RSI is overbought on multiple time frames. Yes, this does seem irrational, but I believe this actually has a purpose to be used as anyone buying, to be used as exit liquidity, as SPY makes a blow off top before pulling back, especially if these tariffs go into play. If you thought this last dump was bad, if the tariffs actually go into effect and there is no pause, it will keep on dumping. So we'll see if Trump holds his nerve this time. But if he does, you thought this was bad last time the tariffs were on without the pause. Wait till you see what happens if they actually go into effect. So this is what I'm looking at for SPY in the short and long term. Long term, I'm bearish. Short term, I am bullish. Weekly green candle in my personal opinion. Now let's go ahead and go to BTC and crypto. Show y'all what's going on there in the crypto markets, and then we'll wrap up this video. So Bitcoin is pushing to the upside right now. Beautiful bull flag structure here on the smaller time frames. If Bitcoin's able to get above 109.5, you could see Bitcoin push for a new all-time high, believe it or not. Now, the fractal that I have for Bitcoin does say that we might reject from these higher levels and pull back, but I would love to actually be wrong in this case and push up. The thing that would tell me if I am going to be wrong and the fractal is going to be wrong and we might push up for this higher high and get that 115, 125 price target earlier than expected is if we hold 109.5. If we can hold that level, then Bitcoin potentially could push for that 115, 125 price target that we're looking for, which I do think is going to happen here before 2026. What the fractal is saying is we actually top out here and then come back down using that 90 to 100K floor that I said that we're building. And then after that is when we'll actually have that push up for that 125, 115 price target that I do have here for BTC. So if we do get rejected from that and pull back, I'm not going to be worried or anything like that. It is actually what I'm expecting. What I would be shocked about is if we actually went up and held 109 and went to a new all-time high. That would mean I would have to reevaluate what's going on as far as technicals and as far as the fractal is concerned. But overall, BTC is actually looking bullish right now, so I'm not ruling out that we could push up into that territory and push up for a potential 115, 125 price target. But again, we would have to hold that 109.5 $109.5 level. Now, if Bitcoin were to do that, altcoins were absolutely pumped. As you guys can see, altcoins are blooming as Bitcoin pushes up as well. Again, Bitcoin dominance so high, 62.5. When Bitcoin moves, altcoins are going to move. So if Bitcoin pumps, altcoins will pump. If Bitcoin dumps, altcoins will dump. You guys can see things like Ethereum are up 3%, back at $2,500. So that's good. Cardano ADA sitting at 57 cents right now. Shout out to Cardano ADA holders. Again, still in these overall like falling wedge type structures for some of these altcoins. Like ADA and XRP. So I do think we are going to see a move up here for altcoins and Bitcoin in general, but it could be a little bit later down the road. You guys can see XRP sitting at $2.20 here at time of recording. We do have some sell walls here at $2.38. If we were able to get like $2.30 to $2.50, get above that, you could definitely see XRP make a nice move to the upside. Cardano ADA with this overall falling wedge should be returning back to like 130, 150 in my personal opinion. But again, we would need to see Bitcoin push up for that to happen. I want to see if Bitcoin can hold this 108 level. If Bitcoin remains above 108, expect a push up towards that 109.5. And if we can hold that 109.5, expect for a push for a potential new all-time high. But don't be surprised again if we have to get rejected from these levels and pull back, because that's exactly what the fractal is calling for. It'd probably shake a lot of people out if we flush down the 90K, but we have a ton of buy walls down there. So that's where I would expect for Bitcoin to find a floor. And it's a ton of buy walls basically from 100K. So they start all the way at 102K, going down to 97K, and then we have like a big group of them at 90K going down to like 87K. So again, I would expect Bitcoin to find a floor around those ranges. Recent Bitcoin news, Bitcoin bill is trying to get passed. Also, I've seen a lot of smart money continuing to buy BTC. You're not seeing that reflect in the price action right now because they're buying off of the market right now. But that could create a price shock in the future. So that's why Bitcoin sometimes stays stagnant from day to day and then all of a sudden sees these big movements to the upside, these big explosions to the upside. But overall, I'm extremely bullish on BTC, especially as the dollar starts to deteriorate and these tariffs come into place. Ever since the tariffs have been mentioned, the dollar has been trending down. This is extremely bullish for BTC. I told you guys Bitcoin will remain in a bull run as long as the dollar stays under 99. The dollar's at 97.19 on the DXY, the dollar index right now. So just keep an eye on that. If you see the dollar go down even more, that's going to be extremely bullish for Bitcoin. And if the tariffs do come in effect, that's going to be even more bullish for BTC. Inflation is remaining the trend, so I think Bitcoin is going to continue to go up, especially as the US debt continues to inflate, the dollar continues to degrade, and that's why I personally hold more Bitcoin than I do altcoins, because it's one of the few things that have a fixed cap of only 21 million coins. It's decentralized. It cannot be printed. It cannot be inflated. Even stocks can be rehypothecated. They can be reproduced. They can be shorted. They can be reverse split. Bitcoin can, none of these things can happen because no one person owns Bitcoin. It is the most sound fundamental money that we have ever seen, and I believe it's going to be the replacement of gold, and I believe new all-time highs are an inevitable thing for BTC. So very bullish on Bitcoin. Altcoin market is going to follow Bitcoin. You guys can see how crypto is kind of moving into traditional finance. They're kind of intertwining and connecting. So you guys can see how this could easily be a bottom floor of a very, very new blooming industry. This was your weekly outlook and prediction for stocks and crypto. If you found this video informative, go ahead and drop a like. I'm rocking some of my merch right now. You guys can check out the merch store linked in the comment section description below. I also have a Discord as well. It literally pays for itself. It's an investment into yourself. $100 for a lifetime invite. Exclusive technicals, predictions, and information. You don't have to take my word for it. Hop on the stream, ask other people if the Discord is worth it. See if it's for you. If you want to check it out, you can hit me up on my email, DataZeroOfficial5, linked in the comment section description below. I'll send you information, also payment information as well, and information about the Discord. Payments made by a PayPal or Cash App. Once you make payment, I'll send you the link. It's as easy as that. And if you want to support the channel for absolutely free, just hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. And as always, y'all, the main thing is thank you for watching, and I appreciate each and every one of you because I couldn't be here without you. And as always, y'all, have fun, stay safe, make money. Peace out, fam.